do you think that a lot of the times you didn't speak up for yourself was because you weren't fully in your body, or just because you hadn't learned yet and you hadn't had the spiritual development yet?
Can I give an option three? Because I really feel like my voice was snatched away at a very young
Mm.
age. But as we've been speaking about, that was maybe the choice I made before I even was reincarnated into this body. But yeah, like I feel as though that choice was taken away from me because I personally think for myself, and this is just the feelings that I've had as I've thought about my journey in life. A lot of times people don't get too caught up in the past. Like they have different little pinnacles where it's like, oh, that happened to me, woe is me, or this changed me. But my past has always felt right here with me. I felt very solid in every single moment, even as a kid. Like a 4 year old memory feels like yesterday to me. So I don't know. I don't feel like I was just not all the way rooted in my body. I did feel actually too rooted. And that's why it's been so very difficult over time to release the old storylines because they feel like yesterday to me.
Okay, that brings me upon two questions then.
Okay.
So you believe that your spirit has progressed and that you've become better, so that's why you're more speaking out now?
Yes.
And then second, when you think back to your memories, do you think about them with a frame around them, like a cloudiness around them, even though they're clear?
Not a frame, no.
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 Like a dream. Do they look like dreams?
Mm, the thing is visually, I've never had clear anything. My dreams are never very clear but I know what's going on
Do your
because
memories and your dreams mimic each other the way they recall, though? Do they look the same? Same filter, same color, same.
yeah, I guess so, yeah. Yes. Why? What does that mean?
Our memories and our dreams are both implants that we put there.
Okay.
So what that has to do, the cloudy frame is how I see it, and I've had a lot of people tell me they see it the same way, the frame. So
Okay.
which one is the dream and which one is the memory?
Mm.
I'm just curious how you see the past, because that to me is just interesting with anybody. We've talked about, you remember how when we were talking about recently, um how I was saying I did a Patreon series about how people in this life currently have problems using cell phones in their dreams. They try to text and they try to make phone calls and the phone doesn't work. I've also tried to read maps when I was going down a highway in a dream and I couldn't read it. It was scrambled. It looked like a different language. I'm sitting here I was trying to text my grandma in a dream to come pick me up because I was a teenager and I didn't have a ride and I couldn't text her. And I kept trying to figure out this phone and it was an old Nokia phone. Like I couldn't it
Hey.
just didn't work. And there's been so many dreams like that. And then finally, I had a dream where my phone kind of worked. And so I did a lot of research into this, and I've always been fascinated by this. But what it comes down to is, like I said, in the 50s, people dreamed in black and white, and people dreamed like that for a long time. And then their grandchildren are having these color dreams because Technicolor came about, and you've got the Wizard of Oz, and everything's in color. And now people are dreaming in color, and they're reporting it. And what
Yeah.
that to me, this is assimilation, and that's just another proof, telltale tale, because it's an upgrade. Everybody got upgraded to dreams that were in color. Everyone's getting upgrades to cell phones that work in their dreams because, well, they didn't work for a reason.
Mm.
And I like to hear how people remember things and how they see their memories, because there's upgrades happening in the way you see your memories and you see your dreams, because for a long time people saw them the same. It's almost like you couldn't tell them apart, even though you know which is which. We're not insane. We understand reality, or do we? You
Mm.
know? So
Yeah.
that makes me just, I don't know, I'm just always curious about that. But the reason I ask about if you feel like you've had a spiritual like incline is because, I don't believe in the soul's progression. I don't I know that a lot of people believe in like Buddha, and or the nirvana or whatever, or being good and getting rewards after in the afterlife like Christianity. I don't believe in any of that. And I do not believe that we're constantly upgrading. I believe that we're playing a game. Just like, let's say you join the theater and you get a script and you're like, this will be fun. I would never do that. I'd never do that, but I'm going to do it all anyway to show everyone, you know? And you star in that role and the show goes on and it's amazing. And then you get off the stage and everyone's like, you did a wonderful job. That was so amazing. It touched me. I love that story. It was a great book, you know? And I just don't believe that any of us are actually under anybody. I don't believe that some spirits are higher up or some spirits are doing better or whatever. Um,
Mm,
I don't believe in soul progression. I don't believe that anybody in this world is of a higher spiritual plane than anyone else because the energy that animates you is the same energy that animates me. Just like the hand, you know, I could be the index finger, you could be the ring finger. It doesn't matter because we are all from the same source.
right.
So
I
it's not
agree.
really, I mean, sure, different fingers do different things, but that's because that's their job. Same like if you enter a play, your role is your job, you know? So for me, I don't believe in soul progression. And it's funny because science comes into that, and that's a whole nother bowl of racks, and I'm not touching. But I don't think that any of it is relevant because I don't think any of it matters, and none of it ever will. What are you supposed to do in an open space? You run around and play in it. What are you
Mm.
supposed to do when you're locked in a vacancy? And that's exactly what this place is. It's vacant and we fill it full of shit. We fill it with our thoughts, our creations, whether they be physical or mental.
Oh, Faith, you're gonna start scaring the viewers.
No, me, little old me. Why, I would never do such a thing, I declare.
I mean, most of that I'm pretty on board with it. Okay, so my analogy is like I think like as you said, we're all from the same source. So when you're referring to the fact that there's no one that's spiritually more like in this hierarchy or anything, like yeah, I agree. We're all on the
Yes.
same level. However, I believe that when certain souls reincarnate, it's like we start a game. And as you go further in the game, you unlock doors. And so, what was already there from the beginning, we all start at this like 0 point. And the more doors that you unlock, you see more. You have a different, higher perspective on everything. And then at the end of the game, not everyone's going to be at the same point when they end their game. But I feel like again, we're still on the same plane, but there are souls, I'm sorry, to me that are way more aware and awakened to the truth. And whether that is going to help the greater good of the world could be in debate because I'm going to be one of those people that believes that we can rise someday, but maybe we have to fall before we rise, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like the soul like I do believe a soul can progress. Are we all the same? Like no one's better than the other, correct?
Right.
But your own personal soul, I believe that's the reason we can come back is to progress. To, each journey you're going to learn more and
Unlock
yeah,
doors. Yeah.
exactly.
Unlock
Yeah.
the levels to the game.
So,
For me, none of that. But I
She
love you
said,
guys.
she
I love
said,
you
none of
guys.
that. None of that.
In the
Look.
story, it's like I said, without all the pieces, there is no picture. Without shading, we have no picture. On a white piece of paper, it is just a blank piece of paper. When you go into a story, you have to have somebody in the story that's doing the wrong thing. You have to have somebody that's doing the
Mm-hmm.
right. You have to have all these people. But at the end of the day, when they're done playing their roles, they step off the stage and they're like, that was fun. Next time I want to do this. Next time I want to do that. I don't believe that there is soul progression because I think everybody already knows better on the other side, and they continue to play their part when they're here, and you depend on that person to make the story. You depend on that person to be the bad guy so you can be the good guy or whatever guy you think you are. But at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it's never it's
I
never that clear, and it never will be.
I do like that it's in the back because
Yes, that I
that
do
that
agree
really
with
stuck
that.
with me because me remembering now is because it's in the back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm just remembering now.
Yeah,
So,
that's all it
bam,
is.
that
Well,
was my mic drop. Maybe I'm
Mhm.
just remembering now, like it's already there. So it's not
Mhm.
like, it's a progression and, like that door is unlocking, like you said, but it's just you remembering.
right.
So,
Well, you're
Which
always
is
going to remember because it's time is a flat circle.
yeah.
So you're constantly going over the same thing. And that's why things are so mundane. And that's why we get so tired of this life. That's why people take their lives. That's
Yeah.
why people lose hope because the mundaneness of constantly spinning and doing the same thing over and over. And it's seen in everything. It's autumn right now, and it will be winter, and it will be spring, and then we're going to do all of it again.
Mhm.
You're going to do the week again. Oh, fuck. Tomorrow's Monday. I have to do this all over again.
Yeah.
It's 9 a.m. I have to start this day all over again. Everything you do, you start over again. And that is why you're constantly remembering now. That's
But don't forget the simulation.
and the
It's all a
simulation.
simulation.
Well, it has to
And
be. It has to be a simulation because, I mean,
no, that's what I'm saying. Like, don't forget that,
yeah,
like,
think about playing Mario though. Like
yeah.
all the levels are the fucking same.
Yeah.
They just got different decor on them. I mean, it's the same fucking
Decor.
little pipes, but this
Yeah.
time there's flames coming out of it. Next time there's a tulip that's gonna eat you. Whatever,
Yeah.
Venus flytrap, whatever the fuck that was.
Yeah.
But it's all the same shit, just a different day.
Yeah.
And it's the same
Yeah,
story.
it is the same story. You're
Mhm.
right. You said with different decor. It really was that.
Mhm.
But guess what? Even with that game, I would be sweating and up at midnight, like, I'm gonna beat Koopa, King Koopa. I'm gonna get you, King Koopa. Yeah.
And that's the
Oh yeah.
metaphor right there.
And I'll be into the game. And that's the point. Is like, yeah, this is a simulation, but damn it, I get into it. I get it. I get upset. I get mad, and then you're like, damn, like this is dumb, but I'm still viscerally feeling
Of
this
course.
experience.
Mhm.
So it's tough sometimes, but I do
Oh, tough.
to say the least. But yeah, it's like we got to remind ourselves of that, and I think a lot of people
Every
really
day I have to remind
they're
myself.
holding on for dear life. This
Yeah.
is real. This
Yeah.
is real, and those people are unhappy people.
Yeah.
But even in that aspect, it comes for everybody. Time devours all of us, right?
Yeah.
So I've found the mundaneness has really gotten me down to points where I'm like, I am so fucking tired of this.
Oh yeah.
In the words of Russ Cole, how many times have we had this conversation? How many times have we done this? How many times have we got these little microphones?
Yeah.
How many times are these lights everywhere? How many
How
times?
many
How
times?
many times do I wake up? But then how many times do I go to sleep? Is that world that I'm dreaming? Is that the real world? And this is the dream? And then in another standpoint, I have to try to be positive, right? I'm supposed to be positive. So I'm like, I bloom every day. Every day I wake up, it's a new day. I'm blooming again. I'm back. But then it's just kind of like, fuck positive, fuck negative, fuck this.
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking matter either way. And when you get down on somebody for being positive or negative, toxic positivity, oh, you're too negative. Who gives a fuck? Let them live in it. Let them swim in it because
Mm.
either way, they're going to do it again tomorrow. And if they change it, it's a different decor. Same fucking day.